Welcome to the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast, a podcast dedicated to the profession of pharmacy. Today, we're excited to turn over the podcast to the students from the St. Louis College of Pharmacy at the University of Health Science and Pharmacy in St. Louis with their podcast titled Dose of Knowledge. We give credit to Professors Stephanie Lucas and Terry Wahalik for mentoring these students for these leadership podcasts. Let me remind everyone that the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast is available for streaming on your favorite podcast streaming app, whether it be Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or YouTube. The comments and opinions shared today are those of the hosts and our guests and are not official statements of the Missouri Pharmacy Association, Mitchell Pharmacy, Mercy, nor the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy in St. Louis. Now let's hand the microphone over to our students.
Medicines save lives every day, but what happens when the shelves are empty? Drug shortages can delay surgeries, change treatments, and affect families everywhere. Do you or someone that you love take medicines like liquid amoxicillin for a child's ear infection, Adderall for attention problems, or weight loss drugs like Ozempic? What if I told you that these everyday medicines sometimes can be hard to find? According to the American Society of Health System Pharmacists, ASHP, there are about 253 active drug shortages in the United States as of June 2025. Some even lasted for years. That may sound surprising, but it affects everyone. Stay tuned to hear why.
Welcome to When the Medicine Runs Out. I'm Paige, and along with my friends Macy, Jenna, and Kylie, I study pharmacy at the St. Louis College of Pharmacy, STILCOP, at the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy in St. Louis. We love learning about medicines and how they help patients.
I'm Macy. We are in our second year of pharmacy school, and we wanted to make this podcast because drug shortages affect both hospitals and patients.
Hi, I'm Jenna. Growing up, I didn't think about where medicines came from. In pharmacy school, I've learned that there is an entire supply chain behind each pill. It's interesting and important.
And I'm Kylie. Our goal is to help everyone understand why shortages happen, why they matter, and what can be done to fix them. We'll also talk to an expert working on solutions. We hope you enjoy.
Let's talk about what a drug shortage actually is. A drug shortage happens when there isn't enough medicine to meet the need. It can be simple things like antibiotics or complex drugs like cancer treatments. To show how widespread the issue is, the American Society of Health System Pharmacists, ASHP, reported that in early 2024, there were 323 active drug shortages. By June 2025, that number had dropped to 253. This is still a lot. Many of these shortages involve medicines used in hospitals, such as injections and drugs used to treat cancer. Patients, doctors, and pharmacists all feel the impact.
And when you hear the word shortage, it doesn't mean that the drug is completely gone. It means pharmacies can't get enough. Doctors might need to switch to a different drug or delay treatment. That's why knowing about shortages is very important.
To understand shortages, we need to talk about how medications are made. The active pharmaceutical ingredient, API, is the part of a medication that makes it work. For example, in ibuprofen, the API is the chemical that relieves pain and reduces inflammation.
Then there's the difference between brand name drugs and generic drugs. A brand name drug is created by a company that has a patent for the first creation of the drug. Once that patent expires, other companies can make generic versions with the same API, which usually costs less. In fact, generics make up 92% of the medicines Americans take.
The supply chain has three main steps. First, raw materials are collected. Second, those materials are turned into APIs. Third, the APIs are mixed with other ingredients to make the finished product, like a pill or a liquid.
And more than 80% of top generic medicines don't have a U.S. source for their API. Many API factories are outside the U.S., which makes us rely on international supply chains. That's a key factor in shortages. If an overseas factory has a problem, we feel it here.
One more piece. Even if a drug is made here, its raw ingredient might come from somewhere else. It's a global process. With so many steps, there are many points where something can go wrong, leading to a shortage.
There are several reasons why drug shortages can happen. One big reason is money. Many generic drugs are sold at very low prices. Because they are cheap, companies do not earn a lot of profit, so they may not invest in extra factories or backup supplies.
Another reason is the complexity of making certain medicines. Medicines given by injections have to be made in very clean and controlled environments. A small contamination issue or a broken machine can shut down an entire product line.
We also rely on other countries for most of our drug ingredients. As we kind of mentioned before, only about 10% of APIs are made in the United States, per the United States government. If a foreign factory closes or there is a political disagreement, our supply is affected. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, some countries limited exports to protect their own supplies.
Lastly, sudden increases in demand and extreme events can trigger shortages. During the triple-demic, when RSV, flu, and COVID-19 were all spreading at once, the demand for antibiotics and fever medicines went up. At the same time, some factories shut down due to storms or quality problems. It was the perfect storm for shortages.
So, low profits, complex manufacturing, dependence on overseas sources, and unexpected surges all play a role. When these factors overlap, shortages happen.
Drug shortages create a lot of extra work for hospitals and pharmacists. In a 2024 survey by Vizient, hospitals reported spending nearly 20 million hours and about $900 million each to manage shortages. That includes time finding new suppliers, talking to doctors about alternatives, and updating records. Each hospital was tracking about 43 active shortages. Pediatric hospitals tracked even more because they needed child-friendly forms of drugs like syrups or special dosages. Shortages don't resolve quickly. Injectable medicines may stay on the shortage list for about 4.6 years, and pills for about 1.6 years. During that time, hospitals might have to delay surgeries, cancel appointments, or use different drugs. This can lead to mistakes and increases in costs. Imagine a patient needing specific medicine for their heart surgery, but the hospital doesn't have it. The surgery might be postponed or a less familiar drug is used, which can be risky. That's why hospitals take shortages very seriously.
Now let's look at some examples. Amoxicillin is a common antibiotic used mostly for children's infections. The liquid form became scarce because it's very cheap and only a few companies make it. When demand suddenly increased, pharmacies couldn't keep it in stock and parents had to call around or switch to different drugs.
Another example is Adderall, used to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, otherwise known as ADHD. In 2022, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, reported that Adderall was in shortage because demand increased and some factories had production issues. Kids and adults who rely on Adderall had to try other medications. This change is hard because each medicine can affect everyone differently.
Cancer drugs have been hit especially hard. Many cancer centers report having at least one shortage. For instance, a single factory in India supplied about half of America's cisplatin, a common chemotherapy drug. When that plant shut down due to quality problems, patients across the U.S. had delays. For someone with cancer, waiting even a week can be scary. And then there are popular weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro, which also help treat those with diabetes. They were in short supply because so many people wanted them. The FDA allowed pharmacies to buy many versions temporarily, but now that the shortage is over, only the FDA-approved versions can be sold. During the shortage, some people bought fake versions online, which can be very dangerous.
Even if you don't take any of these drugs, shortages can still affect you. When a medicine is in short supply, doctors may delay your treatment or switch you to a different drug. This can increase the risk of medication errors because the new drug might have different dosing or side effects. Shortages also drive up cost. Hospitals may have to buy from secondary suppliers who can charge more than twice the usual price. These costs trickle down to patients or insurance. For example, if a hospital pays more for a drug, they might charge you more for the treatment. There's also a national security angle. Around 20% of critical drugs depend on China, and around 40% of U.S. generic drugs have only one manufacturer. If a single factory closes or a country stops exports, millions of people could be left without their medicine. Think of it like putting all of your eggs in one basket. If you drop that basket, you lose all your eggs. We need to diversify where our drug ingredients come from and have more than one manufacturer whenever possible.
There is hope, though. The U.S. government has created the Strategic Active Pharmaceutical Ingredients Reserve, SAPIR. This program will store a 6-month supply of essential drug ingredients. It's like having a backup pantry for medications. Lawmakers are also working on bills that offer tax credits to companies that make drug ingredients here in the United States. They are still proposing rules that require companies to warn the FDA early if shortages might happen. More transparency means we can prepare better. We've already seen success. For example, the shortage of weight loss drugs like Ozempic have been resolved, showing us that when we work together, we can fix drug shortages.
One big innovation is continuous manufacturing. In the past, drugs were made in batches. A factory would make one big batch, then clean up and start a new batch. Continuous manufacturing, on the other hand, is like a steady stream. It's similar to having a soup cooker that runs nonstop and can be turned up or down. Continuous manufacturing can adjust easier to changes in demand and is less likely to run into problems that stop production. The API Innovation Center, located in our neighborhood of St. Louis, is a group that supports new technologies like this and encourages companies to build more factories in the United States. By embracing continuous manufacturing and production within the United States, we can reduce our dependence on other countries and make our supply chain more resilient.
To get expert insight on this topic, we've invited guests from the API Innovation Center. They will talk about current efforts to strengthen the drug supply and share what we, as citizens, can do to support these efforts. Listen carefully and think about questions you might have. Thank you for joining us today. To start, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? And can you tell us what the future might look like if we don't address drug shortages in United States production?
Thank you for having me. I'm Katie Novak, the Vice President of Commercial Accounts for the API Innovation Center. I lead strategic initiatives with key commercial accounts, spearhead our healthcare system partnership program, and expand our current cancer drug commercialization program. I have worked across clinical, technical, analytical, and client interfacing roles for over 25 years, including executive roles at Mercy and SSM Health. I earned my executive MBA from the Olin Business School at Washington University in St. Louis, and I received a Master of Science in Physical Therapy from Washington University School of Medicine. If we don't take action now, drug shortages could become a routine part of our healthcare experience, and that's something none of us want to see. Right now, about 83% of the top generic drugs Americans rely on have no US-based source for their key active pharmaceutical ingredients, and most are made overseas. That means a single factory problem or export restriction in another country can ripple all the way to our hospital shelves here at home. If we keep relying on that fragile system, we'll continue to see shortages of essential medicines, from antibiotics and anesthetics to cancer treatments. That puts patients, pharmacists, and doctors in a constant cycle of scrambling for alternatives that may be less effective. At the API Innovation Center, we believe we can change. We're proving that with the right investments, partnerships, and technology, the U.S. can move towards a stable, secure, and resilient supply of essential medicines, all made right here at home.
What is the API Innovation Center doing to build a stronger supply?
The API Innovation Center was created specifically to strengthen our nation's generic drug supply chain. We're a nonprofit public benefit organization based in St. Louis, Missouri, and our mission is simple: to make sure that every hospital, pharmacy, and patient in the U.S. has access to critical medicines produced right here at home. We do this through what we call the ICP model: invest, contract, and partner, a public-private partnership that connects industry experts, research universities, manufacturers, and policymakers. Our team identifies critical medicines, many with no U.S. source, develops advanced manufacturing processes, and then partners with existing FDA-approved facilities to bring production back to the United States. For example, we recently partnered with Sentio Biosciences to produce propofol, a common anesthetic, and bupivacaine, a local anesthetic that currently has no US-based API source. These are everyday drugs hospitals need to keep patients safe.
How does making medications in the U.S. help national security?
National health security isn't just about defense. It's also about making sure that when a child needs an antibiotic or a patient needs a cancer drug, that medicine is available. Right now, less than 10% of active pharmaceutical ingredients are made in the United States. That means we're dependent on a small number of overseas suppliers, mainly in China and India, for ingredients that go into 90% of the medicines we use, focused primarily on our generic drugs. If a natural disaster, trade dispute, or pandemic disrupts those supply chains, Americans could face real risks to care. By producing APIs domestically, we take control of the supply. It's about making sure that access to life-saving medicines isn't determined by global politics or geography. It's determined by preparation, collaboration, and innovation here at home.
I have already touched on this a little bit, but could you describe continuous manufacturing again and why it matters for shortages?
Sure. Traditional medicine manufacturing is called batch manufacturing. Think of it like baking cookies. You mix one batch, bake it, clean everything, and then start the next batch. Continuous manufacturing is more like a steady river. The process never stops. The equipment can keep producing medicine around the clock, and if we need more, we can simply adjust the flow. This method is faster, safer, and less wasteful. It also prevents shortages, as production can ramp up immediately if demand suddenly spikes, such as during the pandemic. The benefits of advanced manufacturing include an accelerated manufacturing process, improved efficiencies, ease of scale up, improved employee safety, and reduced waste. At the API Innovation Center, we're proud to be helping manufacturers adopt and de-risk this advanced novel technology here in the United States. It's a game changer for both efficiency and resilience.
So, why should everyday patients care?
Patients should care about drug shortages because they directly impact access to medications needed for treatment and recovery. When shortages occur, patients may face delays or substitutions, which can affect health outcomes and quality of care. Ensuring a stable drug supply protects everyone's ability to receive safe, timely, and effective treatment.
Are there any recent success stories or innovations that make you hopeful?
Yes, here in Missouri, we've seen real momentum. Thanks to the support of the state government, we have been able to establish Missouri as a leader in pharmaceutical manufacturing and build a strong ecosystem within the state. We're already developing multiple active pharmaceutical ingredients for essential medicines like albuterol, metoprolol, and lorazepam, with a projected $1.2 billion in economic impact over the next 5 years. We've also seen incredible collaboration across sectors, from universities like UMSL and Washington University to companies like Millipore Sigma and Mallinckrodt to research organizations like US Pharmacopoeia. Every time we bring an API back to US soil, it's not just an economic win, it's a national health security win. It means patients, pharmacists, and hospitals can depend on steady, safe, and sustainable supply of their essential medicines. So yes, there's a lot of reason for optimism.
Before we let you go, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners?
Thank you for allowing me to highlight this issue. Understanding the fragility of our global pharmaceutical supply chain is the first step to ensuring that patients have reliable access to the medicines they rely on. Making space for discussions like these helps bring recognition to the problem and what organizations like the API Innovation Center are doing to solve it.
That interview was really eye-opening. It's clear that if we work together, we can reduce drug shortages. Continuous manufacturing and U.S. production are promising solutions.
Absolutely. Hearing about new programs and success stories gives me hope. It shows that government programs like SAPIR and efforts by companies and researchers are making a difference.
If you are listening, here's what you can do right now. First, stay informed.
Visit the ASHP drug shortage list or the FDA website to see which medicines are in short supply. Also, talk to your pharmacist. If your medicine isn't available, ask about safe alternatives. Pharmacists know what options exist and are the medication experts. Lastly, stay connected. Check out the API Innovation Center's website at apicenter.org to learn more about what they are doing to ensure patients, hospital systems, and pharmacies have reliable access to the medicines they need when they need them. You can also subscribe to their newsletter on their site to receive industry news, research updates, and more.
Drug shortages aren't just a pharmacy issue or a hospital issue. They affect families, patients, and all of us.
You can make a difference. Stay informed, talk with your pharmacist, and support policies that bring medicine production back home.
Remember, we are second-year pharmacy students at Stillcop, and we
Thank you for listening to When the Medicine Runs Out. Stay healthy, stay informed, and remember, when the medicine runs out, it affects us all.
A big thank you, students, for hosting the Dose of Knowledge podcast as part of the Pharmacy Frontiers. And thank you to our listeners for joining us today. Please share this episode with your friends and seek out other Dose of Knowledge podcasts on the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast page that can be found on your favorite podcast channel.